Oh, hello there. You know, we're soon coming upon the 60th anniversary, that's 60, of the creation of the Incredible Hulk, this guy right here. You know, Stan Lee and Jack Kirby created the Hulk back in 1962, and there's been a lot of talk about how in that original first issue the Hulk was colored not green, but gray, as you see on the cover here. And if you remember too, Stan always said in that first issue of the Incredible Hulk, some panels the Hulk would be mysteriously colored red, some black, some a muddy gray, some a brown gray, and then toward the end there was one strange panel where he was colored green. Of course, the printers came to Stan with this gray printing problem and said, let's try another color, Stan. Stan said, you know what, I can't think of any other superhero who's green, so let's make the Hulk green. I guess Stan didn't know about good old Martian Manhunter over at DC Comics. So let's you and me take a look inside Hulk number 1 and see if Stan's claims can be backed up. Just how bad was the printing in that first issue? Let's take a look. Again, like we said, Stan Lee meant for the Hulk to be gray in his original run, but
printing problems later caused him to choose green.
And of course the gray was to get him closer to the Frankenstein monster look, who was often grayish or greenish or bluish, depending on which source of Frankenstein you were enjoying. So here's my original copy, purchased in 1982 for a very low sum. I won't even mention how much I got this for. It's not in the greatest shape, as you can see. Somebody named Daryl Slayton decided to, of course, personalize it. Thank you, Daryl.
And so, without further ado, let's all journey back to 1962 and take a close look inside a very famous comic book.
As we can see, we start off with a nice splash page by Jack Kirby of the Hulk, and he's pretty much a uniform gray. Thank you again, Daryl Slayton. Let's take a look here as we turn the page. Something you'll notice if you're a fan of comics from this period is you'll sometimes see characters colored one solid color, like we see here. Like we see here with these characters in the background. That was called color batching. It was just a way to create depth or to make certain characters stand off against their background, stand out distinctively. And you'll see that a lot. Coming to the origin of the Hulk, the creation, the accident that created the character. More color batching, and then here it is, the very first comic book appearance of the Hulk. And again, a nice even gray. More color batching here. Oddly, he's red here, even though the rest of his surroundings are fully colored. Even gray. Pretty standard, consistent coloring. Hhere's an odd splash panel here where the Hulk is color batched against the background. I would have had him full color with just these soldiers in the back seemingly bathed in that yellow light. Very good consistency, although right here he's kind of an odd orange. Not sure if they were going for a flesh tone and got it a little too red. More color batching. The Hulk confronts Igor, the man truly responsible for the accident that created the Hulk. More color batching, nothing unusual. And that gray seems to be holding up just fine. You notice it's starting to get a little muddled, a little dark here and there. Not quite black,
but certainly darker. We're losing that consistency.
More color batching as he first transforms back into Dr. Banner. Very good artwork by Jack Kirby.
With inks by Paul Reinman.
More color batching. An exciting first issue. establishing the romance between Dr. Banner and Betty Ross. Some nice dramatic coloring in these panels. The gargoyle is first contacted overseas. This is back when Russia and the USSR were our greatest enemies. We had to fight that communist threat every moment of the day. Color batching on those hands. We're about to witness the second transformation into the Hulk. More color batching. The Jeep crashes, and then suddenly, that's right, folks, he's green. And that's not color batching because the rest of his surroundings, they are fully rendered, fully colored. We're back to gray. It's a bit dark this time.
Yet again.
Son of a gun, we got a green Hulk. More color batching. Very creative coloring here. There's that dark gray again.
Some very moody stuff.
Here we have a nice ad for a magazine called Amazing Adult Fantasy. No, that's not the name of an adult bookstore, but the comic book that would soon feature the debut in just a few months of The Amazing Spider-Man. Right below that, an ad for another new Marvel comic called The Fantastic Four. Probably up to issue 4 or 5 by this time. The early Marvel universe is forming. Now we're back to a lighter gray. Lots of color batching here.
The technique may have actually been used to help with deadline problems. Get the issue color a little bit quicker than usual.
Back to Dr. Banner here. The gargoyle here is colored a greenish tint, when normally he's supposed to be standard flesh colored. We're getting to the wrap up. Those darn Russians. And that is the wrap up. Not nearly as bad as Stan Lee purported. The gray was fairly consistent, somewhat problematic, and yes, we did get the debut of a green Hulk in the middle of this issue.
And from there on, Stan said, let him be green.
So there you go. It's strange to think that I've owned this issue, this copy, for a longer time than the time between its publication and when I first acquired it in 1982 or so. But there's your look inside a famous first issue. And Daryl Slayton, you can eat dirt. No, I found him a few years ago on Facebook. He's a great guy, very sweet. And he remembers having these comics and this particular issue. And is a really good sport. Well, there you have it. I hope you enjoyed that peek inside the historic 1962 issue of the Hulk #1, trying to match up Stan Lee's claims with what actually occurred inside the comic. A lot of fun. I hope you enjoyed this little journey. Let me know what you think. Subscribe to my fun comic book related videos. And keep on reading and enjoying vintage comics like Hulk #1. See you next time.